Did you have a good healthy meal today? Well, what about yesterday or the day before? Well, for about 11% of Massachusetts households, that's not always the case. And joining me today to talk about that is Tracey Levy, who's the program director for Amherst Survival Center. Thank you so much, Tracey, for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
So talk about what the Amherst Survival Center does for the Western Mass area.
Well, the Amherst Survival Center, the way I like to describe it is it's a community center. People from all walks of life, from Springfield to Northampton to Greenfield to Coleraine, certainly the towns in Amherst and closest to Amherst, come by the Survival Center for any number of reasons. And we also have a hot lunch program, a food pantry, a medical clinic, and a free store. And so there's a lot of different reasons why people might end up coming for those programs.
And people don't realize how important hunger is. 11% of Massachusetts households don't, that's according to projectbread.org, they are not food security. They're not secure about where their next meal is going to come from. That's astounding.
It's astounding. We see literally over 200 people a day walk through our doors, and most of what's driving them through our doors is the food that we give away, either through the hot lunch program or through our bread and produce program or through our food pantry.
And there's no requirements in the sense of they have to do certain things or make certain money or whatnot. It's to help anyone who needs it?
Well, most of our programs, all of our programs, anybody really, there's no means testing. If somebody's walking through the door, the understanding is you're walking through the door because you need it. For most of our programs, there's no intake process. For our food pantry program, there is a slight intake process because so much of that food comes from the food bank, and the food bank really wants to track for the government who's getting the food.
There was a stat that State Senator Benjamin Downing put on Twitter, and he said in 1980 there were 200 food banks, and today there's 40,000 food banks and pantries. And I asked him, I was like, where did you get that stat from? And he cited a documentary, A Place at the Table. But those numbers are astounding. To go from 200 to 40,000, why the big jump?
Well, one of the things that I think most people have certainly heard about, Obama's making it really clear in the last year or so, is the economic gap is growing. There's a lot of the middle class is really shrinking, and the middle class was a huge part of this country, certainly through the 70s, and then in the 80s it started getting smaller, and now there's very few people that I feel like are the solid middle class folks that are making a decent income, not a huge income. They're not the 1%. They're making a decent income, can pay their bills, and don't have to worry about the future. Right now what we're seeing is literally people who working 1, 2, 3 jobs and really having a hard time making it. They talk a lot about, well, wouldn't it be great if the minimum wage was $10 an hour or $11 an hour? Well, that's not even going to cut it for most of the people that we're seeing, because $10 an hour working full time isn't going to help somebody pay all their bills and pay for their food and pay for heat in the winter and transportation year round. If they're trying to take care of one other person, maybe a partner who can't work because they're sick or lost a job, or a child, $10 an hour isn't going to do it.
We were talking a little bit about this off camera as well, in the sense of that people are, when they have to choose between rent or food, rent obviously has to get paid, which means food choices are kind of left over, and that may mean they're not making the healthiest decisions when it comes to the kind of foods that they're buying. Right.
I mean, often there's a lot of different reasons why people might not. When you have a limited food budget and you're under a great deal of stress, do you have time to necessarily say, okay, I'm going to try to buy a lot of fresh produce that's going to take a lot more time to cook, or am I going to get the canned stuff, or am I just going to say, well, French fries are going to be the vegetable of the day? So, I don't feel comfortable judging anybody for those choices, but certainly when you're under a lot of economic strain, when you don't have a lot of wiggle room in your food budget or any room at all, you do what's easy.
What are some ways that the community has been able to help Amherst Survival Center?
Well, the Amherst Survival Center is incredibly lucky. We have incredible relationships with local farms, with local businesses, with individuals in the Amherst area that are incredibly generous. And so the community really has come together, but one of the things that we also benefit from is organizations and institutions like UMass. And so they are about to do an incredible fundraiser for us.
Yes, it's not Dine and Dash,
no.
It's the Dash and Dine.
Correct.
Talk about that fundraiser. It's coming up on April 12th at 11 a.m.
Right. So UMass Dining Services had this idea several years ago where they really wanted to promote healthy eating and fitness in their community, but also really link it up to the Survival Center and what we're doing at the Survival Center. And so it's open to the entire community. Anybody who enjoys running a 5K can not only run that 5K, which is based at UMass, but also eat in their award-winning Berkshire Dining Commons. And while I haven't been able to go, I have a couple small children, it's pretty difficult to negotiate it all. Everybody I know who has made it to this event has raved about the food at the Berkshire Dining Commons and said it was worth far more than the $15 entry fee. And it's an incredible fundraiser for us as well.
Oh, that's great. Now, people can pre-register on April 11th, but the actual event will be on April 12th at 11 a.m. And of course, we'll have all the information on our website, so you can check that out as well. Tracey, thank you so much for coming on board today.
Well, thanks for inviting me.